And welcome back to episode 6 of Operation Empire. I'm joined today with Sabian, Connor, and Jeremy. The main part of today's podcast is talking about how to get into this kind of a lifestyle, needs, what you need to know, do's and don'ts, and everything that goes along with it. We're going to really talk about what our personal beliefs are here. There are some facts involved, but it's also a lot of personal opinions. Um, Feel free to ask any questions along as we go. It's a more free, loose podcast, just kind of talking between the four of us. Well, somebody else gets to do intros at some point, I swear.
Right.
Hey, I did it last time.
That's a no.
Right.
I need to get better at kind of just get right into it, because every time you just get into it, I can't help but crack up and be like, fuck.
You
This
gotta,
is happening.
we always have conversations before this where it's like joking, and then also it's like serious.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just
You look
like
so fucking awkward, bud.
I know.
trying to-
Um, so really, we're just gonna start it off with how each of us got into it. I personally went shooting for the first time back when I was 8 years old. Was the first time I went shooting. Really enjoyed it. Really wasn't into the learning aspect of it. Just enjoyed putting rounds down range and didn't understand anything at all. Continued to shoot a little bit as I grew up. As I got a little bit older, I started to understand the fundamentals of firearms. Really starting to just focus in on the basics. And I would say right around when I was 18, 19 was when I really started to decide that I was into it and started to become passionate about it. Got my first firearm right when I turned 21. Got a handgun for an everyday carry. That's going to be this guy right behind me. Taurus G2C, a little cheap entry level gun. Think they MSRP at like $300, somewhere in that ballpark. But really, it's more for me and my family. It's less about for me getting the fancy, cool new technology, and more about what's most efficient to defend my own life and my family's life.
Here you go, Nate. Go buy yourself something better.
Buy yourself something nice.
Right.
You can shit on it. At the end of the day, it's better than High Point.
Get yourself something good. They're
My barber unironically has a high point
the
as
new
a self-defense weapon.
the new Tauruses are a fucking baller.
And then, disclaimer for Twitch and YouTube 1 week from now when this gets uploaded. All of our firearms are safe. They are empty. No rounds in the chamber. They are safe for this.
And this is an educational purpose. And Morgan,
Hold on.
I know you I know you like the Taurus, but it's
All
that one's a dog.
No,
That
it's
one's
safe.
dog shit, to be honest.
Right.
The new Tauruses are actually pretty decent for what they are. But
I think it is fair to admit that I do have an upgraded trigger in there, and I do have a new barrel. So
You spent
it's not
money
a
on that?
stock Taurus. I did.
I mean, $100. I mean, big whoop.
Right.
I mainly got into
I spent $60 on a trigger, so now I have a trigger that doesn't feel like dog shit. And I just got a better barrel. I just got an upgraded one.
Wow.
My only regret there was not getting a threaded barrel. So
Yeah. I mainly got into guns. I think it was like the first week I turned 18. I had extra money and walked in and bought a $1,500 Chris Vector, and ever since then
That was fucking sex.
yeah
I remember that. Yeah.
the Vector was nice, but ever since then it's kind of just been my biggest hobby that I've consistently spent money on, like cars and stuff like that I've been into. I kind of let sit and stuff like that, but guns I've constantly had a passion of going forward to, so much that I even signed up for schooling for it, with SDI. And I mean, at first, again, like Nate was saying, it wasn't so much of like, it was like, cool, I have a gun, shoot down range, stuff like that. But then you get to that age of like, oh, I should really practice on the fundamentals and everything that goes into it and understanding these firearms and stuff like that. So I don't think I have any gun that I first bought. I think I've sold all my first guns. Actually, no. My first AR-15 that I ever bought. Thank you to, Max, good old buddy, for peer pressuring me into buying this Diamondback. Again, this one is barrel empty. I should block it back. But yeah, this is my first AR. Obviously done a few, not upgrades internally, but just external upgrades, scopes, foregrip, handguard, new handguard, foregrip, bipod, stuff like that. And then from there, I mean, it went from an AR and then turned 21, got my first pistol, which I think my first pistol was a CZ, which is a great company. And then from there, the Taurus, bought the Taurus impulse buy, sold it to Nate. From there, what did I buy? I can't remember what I bought with the Taurus money you gave me. I think it was the Canic, to be honest.
Yeah, it was the Canic.
Yeah. So,
I bought the Taurus from you after you had bought the Canic.
That's right. Yep. This thing is awesome. These MSRP for, I think, the TP9 Elite subcompacts, I think the MSRP with an optic already on there, I think the MSRP for like 600, which is just like dirt cheap. That means the gun's 400 because the optic is 200. So,
Oh, I remember now. Yeah, you sold another firearm that we can't talk about while on air, but you sold one, the
No.
silver one.
we can because I bought a ghost
It
gun.
was legally owned.
I bought a ghost gun
Right.
before all the bullshit went down with the ATF. Ghost guns used to be your constitutional right to build a firearm from scratch. So at any age, I bought it when I was 17 because you could do that. That's your right to be able to build something at that age, whatever. So I think my first one was a Glock 17.
19, I believe.
Yeah, it was a 19. So it was a Glock 19 ghost gun. I sold that one. I mean, wait, you can't sell them. I didn't sell it. I shot
He
it.
donated it.
It was serialized and sold,
That's fair. It was.
and then I bought the Taurus, and that's what paid for the Canic.
And then from good old CZ. If it doesn't, blow a hole in my leg. I like
They're
this.
safe.
Yeah, that one. And then good old Glock 34, big boy, full size. And then I guess technically this counts as a pistol.
I mean, yeah.
Good old MP5. It is a pistol. It's classified as a pistol. Same with my AR pistol. This guy's pretty badass. I'm just gonna... Mag's empty, folks.
What's that glint there?
Yeah, what's that,
Nothing, I swear.
what's that brass-colored glint coming from inside the magazine, bud?
Oh, it's nothing. But yeah,
Just the way the light was hitting it.
Just for aesthetic.
so it kind of went downhill from there. I spent a lot of money. Currently on a 6.5 Creedmoor build.
Currently, lots.
Jeremy's gonna make a night vision joke or something. It's okay,
Hey, I
Jeremy.
only have 2 firearms, and I think, actually, technically, I have 3 in my name. But I sold 1. And actually, I didn't sell it, I gave it away. Because my brothers are cheap asses. Wouldn't buy their own.
Ah, so you legally gave it away because that's legal.
No.
Direct family
What?
member is legal.
Yeah, it's gifted.
Oh, then why'd you say it was
Yeah.
illegal?
I didn't.
thought-
I
never-
said legal.
He said legal.
I literally just was like, here, take my Anderson piece of shit AR-15 that can't fucking interface with any other firearm like part. You can't drop like an Anderson upper on like a Geisley lower. Shit won't freaking work. The Lego parts, the tolerances, it sucks.
Aren't the Anderson Arms the one who made? I know Palmetto did too, but didn't Anderson Arms make polymer lowers as well?
If they did, I don't know about it.
I know Palmetto State did, but
I know Arrow tried doing some.
yeah, polymer AR lowers no bueno. Thank you to the
No
5
bueno at all.
Thank you for the 5 viewers watching us right now. I appreciate you dropping in. If you have any
Yeah.
questions, ask us. Connor, how'd you get into the gun life, PewPew Life?
Probably the same way a lot of people got into it. First started off with
Depression.
airsoft
Somebody.
and pellet guns. For legal reasons? No. I mean, yeah, it all started off with airsoft and pellet guns at first, around like, I don't know, probably 8 to 10 years old. Then first shot my real gun at 14 down in Florida, of all places. First guns I shot was the MP5 9mm.
Wait a minute. I'm hearing a timeline add up. Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories. Fucking, yeah, it was the MP5.
You shot a 9.
AR-15.
You shot a 9mm MP5.
Yeah, full auto. Then a full
That is
auto.
that is
That's
sex right there.
badass. That's
Actually, I
baller.
still got the fucking target I used. It was a jihad motherfucker with a bomb.
No, with the RPG.
No,
No, it's not the
It's
one with
a-
the RPG.
no, I didn't have one with an RPG. It's just like this giant ass fucking bomb he's carrying for
Ah.
some fucking reason.
You talking about like a comic Acme Acme like black.
No, full on like
bomber.
Muhammad fucking.
Oh,
Muhammad.
yeah, some
Okay,
Bosnia type shit.
Let's not proceed with names.
Eh.
We are towing a line right now, so let's
Well, I
not
got
cross it.
I got some big ass feet, motherfucker. My toes are gonna go over that line at some point.
It's
We need a
not
mute
personal.
button.
Do we have one?
You have a mute button. You just won't use
Mute.
it. Anyway, so it was the MP5 9mm full auto, AR full auto, and then the SIG P223.
Good old
Um,
Sig.
Good old SIG, shooting people in the legs. And then first gun I built on my 21st birthday, Sabe was there. My AR pistol. I think we
Small
spent,
boy.
Short
yeah,
boy.
little small boy, 7.5-inch barrel.
It's girth. Girth is what matters.
I mean, yeah. Then actually, that wasn't my first gun. My first gun was a Dickinson Arms
Yeah.
tactical 12 gauge.
Dickinson.
That piece
Dickinson.
of shit
That's-
shotgun.
That piece of garbage.
What
Sorry,
did it do?
Dickinson.
Why you guys shitting on Dickinson?
It was so bad. Unless you'd ever
was
shot the thing, like it was bad.
Why, did it kick hard?
First
and-
red flag. I got it on clearance
At Big Five.
from Big Five.
At Big Five
Oh,
for like
I got-
$150.
No, it was like 200, 230.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Big baller
Yeah,
alert.
big baller. Yeah, that should have been red flag number 1.
And it had problems cycling rounds. Really bad. Slugs, I guess. Shotguns. So
No,
slugs.
it was only those mini ones. I think we had an issue with.
It would do it to buckshot too for some reason. Like double aught.
Yeah,
It would double. It would jam on double aught. Just.
what extractor issues or failure
No,
to feed?
I think it was a firing pin issue because it would have light strikes all the time. Like
Yeah.
you could click it, click, you rack it, pop the shell out, you grab it, it light strike it, and you're like,
There were
That's not
times where
good.
you would go 6 double aughts in a row of click, shuffle
Click,
out,
click,
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 shuffle
click,
out,
click.
click.
yeah, it was weird.
I think it just might have been that brand, or maybe it was a
And then-
fucking firing pin.
Yeah, we had been. Connor had bought a bunch of mini slugs, so they were only like this big. So
Yeah,
instead
they
of
were
the
half
6,
size.
you could fit 12. Well, then this shotgun wanted to double chamber, so
Ooh.
Yeah, it would
That's
fucking.
a
Yeah,
bad thing to happen.
yeah, it would jam trying to double chamber.
Double feed. Oof.
It's like the steer rounds in a fucking tubular fucking magazine, just going off, hitting it.
right. It was a bad time.
No
Would
bueno.
have probably been better off with a fucking flare gun and just throwing a 12 gauge around it.
But I don't know if Connor, if your parents Jeremy or Sabians, but my parents were not into firearms either. I think that's an important clarification. I wasn't brought up in a firearms household. My dad never owned guns. My mom owns two antique firearms that family members in the past used to own. But so I
Antique.
don't.
Do you know what
In
kind?
I know one's an old military 1911, and the other one's an old revolver. So I'm actually getting both of those in a couple months, and I'm gonna start the
Ooh.
restoration process on them.
Nice.
See if they can be restored back to where they were. If they can't, they'll just be cleaned up, put in a decorative case, and hung up. But I just think that's an important thing. A lot of people think that just because you're into firearms mean that you grew up in a firearms household and you're always surrounded by guns and shooting every weekend. And for me, my life wasn't like that. My mom took me shooting once when I was 8, and my stepdad took me shooting once when I was 12. And that was the extent of it for me growing up.
Yeah, when I grew up, my dad, mother, my mother's actually really against it because she thinks whoever owns a firearm is gonna get shot by police, stuff like that. She's kind of like that. Um, but my father, I mean, he grew up around guns, but it was mostly just guns to protect the farm. You know, it wasn't like AR-15s, pistols, stuff like that. So I didn't grow up in any. We didn't have guns in the household, and we lived on some sketchy areas that we should have had guns in the household. Now that reflecting back on that, I'm like,
Right. Hindsight, just
yeah. So, I mean, it kind of was mostly me. Like, we had airsoft guns, stuff like that, but he never took me to the range. I took myself to the range. Um, yeah.
that must have been a nerve-wracking moment.
Not really, because, like, I was confident because I spent so much time researching already, because that's how I am. It's like if I get into something, I'm going to research it. And so it was nerve-wracking going into it, kind of like, oh, they're intimidating because they know so much more than I do. But at the same time, I was going there to lay lead down range, and that's it.
Hey, thank you for the lurk. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
I was probably the most unsafe. See, my dad, he had firearms in the house. And my parents would always like try to hide them, but I kind of knew where they were all the time. And I wasn't stupid. I wasn't, loading firearms or messing with them. I just open the case and like stare at them. Or maybe pick it up, kind of hold it, and then put it back because I didn't want my parents to know that I was like, I don't know, but that was like my
Get your ass whooped.
right. I mean, there was a few times when I kind of screwed up, but that honestly was like my curiosity was born into firearms from like just snooping around, and I had like been at ranges, but they didn't let me do anything. Like somebody put an over under 12 gauge, like handed it to me, and they made me shoot it, and I basically fell on my ass because that was a twig.
Was a twig?
Huh?
Was a twig?
I am a twig, but I was worse when I was younger. I don't know. Honestly, I think that was like, oh man, it was almost like Olympia style. Like it had a break and everything. It was a long boy too. It was, I think, like a 20-inch.
I was traumatized the first time I went shooting. They started me off light with a 22, then went to a 9mm, and then they were like, "You want to shoot a 357?" I was like, "That looks cool." And then I was like, "Oh, I no longer have fucking wrists."
You're like, my arms are broken, man.
It's funny you say that because the first time I shot 4570 government,
Yeah.
the big old frickin' lever action. Oh man, I mean, I had just gotten into shooting. I hadn't got my firearm, but I knew about guns. Like I knew how to be safe with guns. I knew how to go to the range and have range etiquette at that point. But I didn't. Anyway, somebody, I think it was my brother's fiance's dad, handed it to me off of this porch. Like he was shooting off the fucking porch into the woods, and it was the most based thing ever because he's like, "Here, load this up," and I'm looking at these bullets that are this long, thick boys. He's like, "Do you want to shoot it?" I thought I'd take my shoulder off. That was fun though,
No.
and it didn't suck as much as I thought it would.
Did you, by chance, click on my YouTube reel that I sent you of the modern day musket? Dude, bad. I'm not gonna lie. That
Dude,
thing's
I
bad.
want one so
That's
bad.
badass, dude. I was like, no. I was like scrolling through and I saw it. I was like, no fucking way. I was like, I gotta send that to Jeremy.
Was I the one that sent that to you, or was that somebody else?
No, no one sent it to me. I was just scrolling through like feeds and found it.
I probably sent it to Michael then.
I do want to take a quick minute here and thank Alice, Commander Root, streamer community, just two dudes, and Nat Zelly for stopping in and watching the stream. Feel free to comment down below what you're thinking, what your first experiences were, and let us know your opinions as we go along. But we appreciate having you guys here.
Like, please tell me there was like a D-ball or a peck on there.
I believe somebody's still waiting on a peck.
Yes. Look, that guy was sketchy. I'm gonna figure it out. But yeah, you're gonna get
Fill
your
in the
peck, don't
people
worry.
watching on what we're talking about.
Do we really have to let them know? I don't want my shame to be a joke. Let's just say I have to give up something very dear. Okay.
He made a bet and
No.
he made a bet
Discussion
Dude.
time.
and I very much won the bet and some because I gave him way more than he asked for. He asked for blueprints.
Way more.
He asked for blueprints for just a carry handle upper for an AR-15, and I got him way more blueprints. Which, disclaimer, upper receivers are not considered firearms, so you can possess any blueprints without having to have an FFL, any of that stuff.
And another disclaimer, blueprints are free and available on the internet. They are public information.
Except for the carry handle ones that I actually had to pay out of pocket for. I did have to pay out of pocket for those blueprints.
But for just so excluding the upper carry handle, blueprints are available on the internet. They can be accessed, and it's a Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
So,
but the carry handle one, he couldn't find them anywhere, and he's like, if you find one, if you can either make me one because I'm going to school for that stuff, or if you can find me blueprints for it. Which, again, I'll still hold up to I'll make you one, but I did send him the blueprints. So I'll make him one if he can't get them made by himself. But
I contacted so many companies about that. I did. I called PSA, Luth AR Arms, I think.
Brownell.
Yeah, Luth AR Arms, Brownell, fucking Bravo Company. I called, what was? Did they call it BCA?
Yeah.
Bravo Company. Anyway, I called Bravo Company. I also called Arrow.
Yep.
And 2 out of I think the 5 contacted me back saying, or giving me information. PSA was actually like stupid helpful. They gave me a parent company that apparently went down, like somehow just dissolved after they absorbed the company that had a run of fucking carry handles. Anyway, I'm not gonna get upset.
Get upset.
I'm gonna get fucking upset because like.
You gonna cry, little boy?
I might just. I might just shed a tear.
I might just.
Anyway, Sabe wins the PEC 15, and it's like the shittiest PEC, but he basically got it for like nothing.
And how much did you pay for it?
I don't want to fucking Why are you just
say it?
1700, and it's dog shit. You could literally buy cheap Chinese Somo gear PEC for airsoft. Slap that on a 5.56. I wouldn't suggest putting that on anything with more recoil than like 5.56 or a 9mm, because
You might
Yeah.
break it.
But I think that's a great point to be made here. You know, since we're talking about getting into firearms, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get into the firearm thing. And just because it has a high dollar price tag does not mean it's a great piece of equipment. As Jeremy learned,
Oh yeah,
there are
like this.
there
This is
are
falling
some
apart.
things like a set of knots that cost a lot of money, and you're gonna pay a lot of money to have a good set. But then there's things like optics, those kind of things. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get started and to get into it.
You don't have to buy
Um,
$600, Trigicon scopes. You can do whatever that brand is that you guys got. What was that?
Primary arms.
Primary Arms. Primary Arms
Yeah.
makes essentially the same shit.
They're
Right.
a pretty reputable company for how
Yeah.
low price their stuff is.
Primary Arms, aren't they out of... No, that's Rainier Arms. Out of
They
Washington.
still.
But I mean, like, even like you can buy starter firearms. I mean, Sabian's the perfect example, excluding the Chris Vector.
Yeah.
Excluding that. That's a
Yeah.
big purchase getting into firearms. But even the Taurus, you know, starting with the Taurus and then progressively working your way up the price scale. And, you know, I always recommend Glocks just because there's so much aftermarket support for Glocks getting into pew pews in general. You can buy a Glock and customize it all the way up to what you want to. It's the same thing with AR-15s. If you want to buy a pre-assembled one, you can get into them for $500 to $700 and upgrade them as you progress, or you can build yours customized to how you want it. But just getting into it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be on the cheaper side. It's not cheap. Guns aren't cheap. Bullets aren't cheap. None of it's cheap. It just doesn't have to be thousands of dollars expensive to get started.
Yeah, you don't need to buy, a 1911 that costs, $2,200 like most of them do. You can get, or a 2011 that costs $2,000. They have cheaper options and cheaper variants that honestly are just as good. I mean, they're not going to be
But
as
But this new Springfield 1911 double stacked is screaming my name.
right. The what is it? The Protege.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. I mean, the new so you got Canic that is a budget option for firearms. You have your Tauruses, and the new Tauruses are honestly pretty decent. I mean, threaded barrel,
Right, the
optic cut-
G3s.
not the G3s, the G4s.
The G3s are pretty decent too. though.
They're not bad, yeah, but the G4s
Don't get a G2.
Don't get a G2.
Don't get a G2. I have a G2. Don't get a G2. There is next to zero aftermarket support for a G2.
Yeah, that is the harder part. Canic is unfortunately good for them. Same with Hollow Sun. Canics are becoming a more popular brand because out of the box they have a great trigger. They have all around. I mean, for the price I paid for this, which was like $500 after tax, great trigger out of the box. Fits in the hand nice. Comes with 2 magazines. It comes with its own personal holster in the case with this, So you don't have to go out and buy a holster. It comes with one. That was all for $500. They are getting a little bit more pricey now, due to the fact that people like them so much, and that they were affordable. Hollow Sun, same thing. Hollow Suns used to be super cheap. The optic used to be super, super dirt cheap, and now they're getting up there in price just because of how many people are like, well, it's either this or a $600 Leupold or a Delta Point or whatever. But there's always options out there. Do the research on it, though. We always suggest that.
Right.
Before I bought this Canic, I asked the people there. Some of them had iffy, and then, iffy to say about it. And then I looked up online before I bought it, and a lot of people liked it. So I was like, I'll get it, $500. Then later on, the only thing I don't like about this is how small the Picatinny is on the front, because I can barely fit any type of white light. So that's kind of
And
one downside.
I know the G3s. I don't know about the G4s, but the G2s and the G3s both have that small bit there too. They're not very long. You're not gonna be able to fit a whole lot.
They
I know for the G2s and the G3s, they attach there, and they also have a loop that attaches to your trigger guard. Is really how it secures any kind of flashlight or red light there.
Yeah. I mean, Streamlight has awesome options like.
Well, I mean, TLR7, right?
Yeah,
Like that can. That's the shorty
Right.
boy.
Yeah, the
Right.
the sevens, and then I think they have a few other options. They have the sub 7, the sevens, and then so the eights I believe will fit as well. The eights are pretty small,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken.
I know the hard part here is, so I don't know if the camera will show it, having just the one lock there.
one rail.
Sometimes it'll rattle, it'll move around. It's just not that secured. And that's why a lot of them are coming with the loop that laps around the trigger guard. So that way it doesn't rattle as much, gives it a lot more stabilization. But you're going to get that the G2s, G3s, and G4s all come in a subcompact. So that's where you're really going to notice the differences in the subcompact, a compact, or a full-size category.
Right. I wish, honestly, I did a little bit more research on the difference. Because, there's the obvious. You got barrel length, you got magazine capacity, overall, like, I guess, fit. I know that sounds weird. I wish I got a 19 instead of a 17. I also wish I got a Gen 3 instead of a Gen 5. Gen 5s, they're good, but like the aftermarket for Gen 4s and Gen 3s Glocks are like vast.
Yeah.
All the stuff for Gen 5s are like Gucci. For some reason, like this is treated as like a Gucci Glock, which there's other variants and other, like, I don't know, Sabe, his is a fucking Gucci pistol. Like that thing is a long fucking boy.
Lots of white light.
It's a big boy.
It's a good old saying. So this is a full size. This is also a full size, and it is about an inch longer. So it's like, who she tells you not to worry about.
And then if you put the Taurus next to the Canic, it is substantially smaller.
I forget, what is your everyday carry, Connor?
Oh, Connor.
Mine's my Springfield XD,
XD.
9mm full size.
That shitty fucking arm mount.
Leave me alone, alright?
There
just
is a
have to call
gap
them out.
between that shit.
It
That
is a very minimal gap, okay?
There's still a gap.
that is a dude. If I can see sunlight, that's not good.
This
Well,
is what
so far it's held a 0.
this is. See how nice that is, nice and flush.
Right. It's not hovering like.
We're gonna give you shit. We're gonna give you shit for the rest of your life. As long as you have that on there and you don't just pay me to mill it or pay another gunsmith to mill it.
Okay, well, eventually, I'm probably just gonna say fuck the red dot on this and put in some different irons that have the Teridium sights on them.
Yeah.
Tritium, yeah. I've been thinking about doing that too because under nods, I can't see shit with this pistol.
Yeah.
And all it has is a white light. So, yeah, either I'm going to blind myself and blind the other guy, not really blind myself, potentially hurt my tubes, or I'm going to have to, like, guess and then just fire at them a couple of times and hopefully I hit them, which that's not a smart idea. So I've been thinking about getting some tritiums for Dish Bad Boy as well. Possibly
Which-
even suppressor sights.
Not bringing up not going in full detail into it, but there was a news article a couple days ago of a police officer involved shooting, and I'm watching the video, and from 8 yards away, this officer fired 14 rounds at this guy and missed every single one.
Sounds like
How
that
I
guy
was
needs
like,
freaking training.
it was like, you need to go back to the range. You didn't even hit his foot. Like, how do you not hit anything?
My
That guy
God.
must have been like,
Right.
Limper.
Like, I was just like,
Alright.
I don't
send me
understand
the
how
video,
you do
Nate.
that.
Eight,
I'll have to find it, but I'll send it to you.
did you say 8 yards?
Yeah, it was like 8 yards.
Fucking
So what, like close to 24 feet ish?
Elijah Dickens. Elijah Dickens, awesome guy. We talked about him before, but like 40 yards, 8 on target out of 10 shots and hit him with a stock Glock. Like,
Right.
That's the type of shooting that police officers need to train for. I mean, I don't think he has any military background. From what I think, he's just a 22-year-old who likes guns. And he's part of the community of gun lovers. I carry every day to make sure people I love are protected, and he ended up following that exact.
And he lives
dream.
in the great state of Ohio that has constitutional carry laws.
I mean, still has gun-free zones, which is still unconstitutional, but
Right, you're gonna have gun-free zones everywhere, though.
yeah, thanks Bush, fucking Bush administration, and everyone who's gonna watch this and get a little butthurt about me saying gun-free zones are dumb.
It's true though.
It's kind of a reason why mass shootings went up 300% as soon as the Bush administration implemented the Gun-Free Zone Act.
Right.
Well, that's what they wanted, the war on terrorism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that motherfucker flies planes into a fucking building.
Building.
Okay, now we're
This,
getting into
this
conspiracy theories.
podcast, that's...
It's not conspiracy anymore. Like, it's legit.
It's not
No.
conspiracy.
It's, yeah.
That
Shit's-
is a fact.
It's just been proven now. There's a lot of stuff that people are like, oh, that's conspiracy, and that's been proven in like the last
It's right,
5 years.
right. It's right up there with MK Ultra.
Right.
Okay, we're getting on a tangent. I know that, but straight up, go on.
Camera failure. Give me a second.
Go on the CIA Information Act. You can look up MK Ultra, and they did 100% use MK Ultra in the 80s and stopped using it in the 90s, but they legitimately have documents stating about MK Ultra.
A very famous terrorist was
Yeah.
experimented on by MK Ultra. I'll let you figure out who that out is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a sick world we live in.
But going on from there, we're going to get off our tangents a little bit. A really big, important thing with the gun community is helping women get into the gun community, because there's one, being how dangerous the world is. I mean, I carry because I'm afraid to walk out of my house most of the time because of the people out there. I live on every single night I wake up to alerts of gunshots. Every single night, only 2 blocks away. So I carry, for my personal protection, me being a guy that regularly trains and does research and stuff like that. But for females, it's a little bit different. There's a lot of, I guess, guys in this industry, mostly older people at gun ranges, stuff like that, are very sexually biased, which kind of sucks. Because I remember even one time my wife and I went to WSG, and she stood there with ammunition in her hand right by the cash register for, I'm not shitting you, 20 minutes while I searched around looking at stuff. No one talked to her, and the second I came up, they talked to us. So a lot of guys are kind of, not allowing the females to get into this stuff. And a lot of females are kind of too afraid to get into this type of stuff. And
He should be one of the most fucking...
yeah, I always advocate for females carrying. I mean, whether you go hiking, which was brought to my attention by an old coworker, hiking, just in general, having...
Right. Right. If you're single and doesn't matter like who you're dating. If you're single, you're by yourself, and if you're by yourself, that makes you a more likely target to be harassed or something to happen to you.
Well, even if you're not single, I mean, I would feel safer knowing that, my fiance, if I go down, she has firepower to have my back, other than me going down, or
Right, and that's like your
or my gun getting shot and my gun's now out of commission. She has one, and if she trains, then she knows how to use it and she can be the backup, or vice versa. If she sees the threat first, she can engage the threat, until I get there. And then if a lot of people like to backpack, hike, go up in the woods, off trail, and not only do you have, random people out there, you also have bears, you have cougars, you have other wildlife that could harm you. And it's just good to always have that extra protection with you, mostly one being as powerful as a projectile traveling 1,300 feet per second,
pokes holes.
Pokes holes. But yeah, there's a lot of more to it that we'll a little bit discuss on with, carrying, stuff like that. But the first thing to really get into it as a female is if you have a husband or boyfriend that's into firearms, you can straight talk to them and then see if they're willing to train you or willing to let you use their firearm at the range, or even just go to the range by yourself with your girlfriends, with your boyfriend, husband, whatever. Rent some firearms, because most of those gun ranges have a renting section that you can rent as many pistols as you want, rent the whole case. You just have to buy their ammunition, and you can just try every single one out that's going to feel the best to you. That being said, I would not go with anything under a 9mm. 9mm, I mean, 380 just isn't really that great ballistically. 22 long rifle is not going to do much. So I would cut off, find a 9mm. For starting, just find a 9mm that you can start with, then go up to 40, 10 mil, something in that range, and kind of see if that feels better, too much kick, whatnot. You're going to have to gauge it for yourself, but starting out, going to a range and just getting that training in and getting comfortable with the firearms is the most important part.
But I think you really hit a good point there with talking to your significant other. First off, women, if you talk to your significant other and want to go shooting with them, there is no way they're fucking saying no. Okay? That's all we want. If you're interested in a hobby that we're passionate about, we are excited. Me and Sabian can both attest to this. And
Right.
men need to fully embrace it. It is not a range day with your friends. Okay, you're not going out and you're not blasting through rounds and you're not running drills all day. You're going out to just have a fun time with your significant other. Turn it into a date. Go get a lunch or lunch before or dinner after. Turn it into something to where it's more than just the firearms. If you make it into a whole experience, it'll make it to where she wants to go back again and really start to embrace it. We operate on a rule that the first 3 times that you go shooting, whether it's a guy or a girl, but especially if you're going with your significant other, it should not be running drills or honing in on certain aspects or anything else. It should simply be about her getting comfortable with shooting and putting rounds down range. That's all it should be.
That and learning the 5 rules of firearm safety.
Right.
Which are, never point a gun at an object that you don't intend to destroy. Always keep your finger off the trigger. Know what's behind your target. All those things. I'm drawing a blank on the last 1 or 2. It's just it's so muscle memory to me that I can't remember what they are, but you know what I mean.
Know what you're shooting.
That's
what's behind what you're shooting.
yeah, I said that one.
Right.
No, it lies beyond, and yeah.
Right.
You want me
But
to list them off real quick?
Hmm?
I could
Yeah.
list them off real quick.
Yeah,
yeah,
go for
list
it.
them.
Yeah, so first one, always keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction. A lot of these are kind of like common sense and they go tied together.
It's a little bit of FUD lore.
Oh,
Like,
one thing to keep in mind is that they're common sense for all four of us because we operate with firearms all the time. We own them and we know how to
That's
handle them
true.
safely. For somebody getting brand new into this, it might not be common sense to them. You know,
Right.
if you've never been to a range before, you might not know that that yellow line on the ground means that firearms are only allowed out of a case past that yellow line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
go-
rule number 2, treat firearms as if they are loaded.
That one.
Number 3, trigger or finger outside the trigger guard.
So that's
Number
gonna
4. No, go ahead.
look like this every time.
Right.
You always want your finger outside the trigger guard. Never do it like this because there's a possibility that you can accidentally slip, hit your trigger. These firearms I've deemed them safe, so I'm okay with my finger hitting the trigger. Always keep it above, just to be safe. Yes, it could slip down, blah, blah, but that's extra steps. You want to mitigate as much steps. Always up on the slide, and then when you're ready to go, as soon as you have your thing, your irons on target, then that's when you want to press on your trigger.
I mean, that's kind of just second nature for me since like I have such large hands. My fucking fingers like almost the size of my entire fucking bottle.
Right.
So that's just a more comfortable position for my hand.
But-
number-
I think that's a very important one. Your index finger should never go inside of here. It's not a resting point. It's not. You do not rest your finger there.
ever.
Ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen way too many cringy videos where somebody's just walking around like this. It's like, no, you don't do that. You always keep here.
I've
I
mean, like the fucking video
really
on
want to
YouTube
point out
where-
what Jeremy did right there. That is a great thing to do. It to us at this point, it's muscle memory. We know that our firearms are safe right now. I know
Right.
that there's no bullets in here. There's not a round in the chamber. However, every time I pick it up, it's still muscle memory to go like that. Every time.
I always press check mine whenever I pick my firearm up. Even if I put it in I carry it every day, so I put mine in there. I pull it out real quick, press check, bam, I'm good to go. Put it back in.
I don't have enough thumb strength to do that, to
Really?
pull it from the...
Really?
No,
Really?
I
You
don't.
can't pull
I
it
don't
like that?
have. I'm a contractor, and yeah, I still don't have enough hand strength to like check it. That just. It's easier to pull like the whole John Wick, like
Oh yeah, that's
The-
how I do it. I
the-
pull back like this.
Right.
The Kimber, but you can't see it unless you you can't see it.
Right.
What was you saying?
Also, if you're, I don't know, to show everybody that it's really off safe, you rack it like 5 or 6 times just to
Right.
really like send it home that this
In some
has nothing
firearms,
coming out of it.
so just to show you, magazine is empty. There's no rounds in my magazine. If I put it in there and I go like this,
It'll
it
rack
deadlocks. It won't. There's nothing. So it takes magazine out.
Yeah, I was just gonna show that with so say you're shooting, you're at the range. I've seen a lot of this at the range recently within like the past 2 months. People they'll be magazine's empty. We can see this. I'm gonna place this in here. Bam. So they're out, they're shooting. Bam. It racks back fully, and then they still do this, point it with their finger on the trigger. That's bad.
Right.
I've seen people
It's-
legitimately turn towards their significant other and flag them while at the range with their finger on the trigger. Always. As soon as that racks back, bam, bam, click, 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 nothing. There's slack. You can see how back the trigger is than normal. Bam, you see it? Okay. Bam. You want to look down into that barrel. You can look straight down. You want to look in there. You can see the red from the mag. Okay, you look down. You see it's empty. Mag out. Rack, rack, rack. Always you want your firearm up because this is the biggest piece that if there's a round stuck, your mag well is the biggest piece of exit compared to your slide or your ejection port. So as you're racking it back, if there is anything in there, this goes great for jamming as well. If you're on there, bam, click, you see you have a jam. Magazine out, rack 3 times, 4 times, doesn't matter. Rack it multiple times, make sure that's safe, press check it, good to put down, good to go.
A good rule of thumb, when, I guess, knowing when to keep your finger here, is when you have your sights up. If you're looking at your sights, that means you're at a range, and obviously you see your target. That's when you put your finger down. If your eyes come off the irons, off the sights, you want your finger up at all times.
Right.
All the time. When you're firing, finger on the trigger.
Especially,
When you're not, you're not.
Especially with a gun like a Glock that only has a trigger safety, it doesn't have an external safety. When you're
Right.
when you're reholstering,
That is. The Taurus has that. It's going to be this little flip right here. So I can flip that up, and that is now a manual safety.
manual safety up, down. That is the only
Back
thing
down.
on this one.
And then, so the Tauruses as well, to get you nice up and close here, it also has a trigger safety as well. So there's a little piece right there that has to compress in with the trigger or it will not fire.
And then you'll also have some like Connor. Do you want to show your XD?
Yeah, mine actually has not only the trigger safety, it also has this grip safety.
Yeah, the
So this
beaver
gun
tail
won't
safety.
fire unless both of these are pressed in completely.
So as you can see with the trigger safeties, you can see that little tiny lip guy right there. If
Yeah, the little fin.
if I pull on anything too high up, if I'm pulling way too high up, it will not come back. If I pull too far off to the side, it will not come back. This piece has to be pressed, and then it will release.
That is the only form on Glocks. Which, I mean, that's kind of up to you. Safety factor. How much do you really trust yourself? Me personally, I don't know. I'm fairly safe. I know this thing isn't loaded. I don't obviously look down the barrel. I usually, it's just one of those things. It's like, how much do you want to know your firearm?
Yeah. Like Jeremy was saying, always have it up on the slide. Especially like me, I carry appendix. It's the most comfortable for me, and I can conceal it the most that way. Also, if someone wants it, they have to come to the front of me. So while this is right next to my junk, I have to point it at my junk, so I always have my finger as high up as possible as I'm pushing it down into my holster. Just to be, I don't even want my finger close at all. It's not worth it.
And really, when it comes to carrying concealed, there's a few ways to do it. There's appendix carrying, there is hip carrying, and then there's really 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and then a shoulder holster. Those are really going to be your main methods of carrying. So I carry 7 o'clock, and I also have a shoulder holster for when I'm wearing like an overcoat. Those are really going to be your different methods, and it's really figuring out what's most comfortable for you. And the key word there's most comfortable. I think it's pretty safe to say at no point in time when you start carrying is carrying ever comfortable. You're putting a big block of metal somewhere where you haven't kept it ever in your life, and now you have to adapt to having it there. It doesn't matter whether you put it on the back, the sides, the front. It's not going to be comfortable. The most comfortable position is a shoulder holster, just because you can kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
But anytime you're carrying around your waist, it's uncomfortable. It's just finding what's most comfortable and, most importantly, what's most effective for you to get to it when you need to get to it.
Yeah. Right. Morgan commented, what's a good starter handgun that we would suggest to someone, and your favorite firearm? I would say at least for just a general rule of thumb, for a first, get your best money out of it. You're going to spend, I would probably say $700-800. A CZ Glock Barrett. Barrett's a pretty heavy though. That's the only thing. We'll talk a little bit about that. Barrett's anything that has that good name brand that's reputable, Sig, stuff like that. Is
Not
gonna,
recently, but
hey, they have military contracts, so who knows how safe
Oh.
they are? You know how safe are they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, military grade.
That's true. Military grade.
Yeah. When you say starter, I look at it as you're not just buying a firearm. We've got a stream lag.
There it goes. I think it fixed.
Yeah, it's fixed.
When you say starter, I'm not thinking of you're buying a rifle or well, obviously because you said handgun. But starter, I'm not thinking of something around the house. I'm thinking this is what you're going to want to be carrying.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Glock 43X is my recommendation. It is small. It is subcompact. It's a 9mm. It's the new version of the original Glock 43. Has a longer grip on it, better stippling, and it's a Glock. They're, for the most part, good out the box. If they're not, you buy a trigger. Now it's really good. Usually, you say you buy a Glock and you buy a trigger and taxes, you're $650, $700. As far as getting started, that would really be the first go-to firearm I'd recommend getting. However, that's just my opinion. I think what it really comes down is you need to shoot a variety of handguns. You need to figure out what works for you. What's most comfortable? The Glock 43X is really comfortable for me. It might suck in your hands. You might not enjoy it at all. That's when it comes down to personal preference and figuring out what works for you personally.
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out though, with the whole aftermarket trigger thing, I would not put an aftermarket trigger on a gun that you might possibly end up using on someone else. That being a reason, if there's any malfunction with that trigger for any reason, for some reason all of a sudden, bam, you're going full auto, or whatever happens, it's a binary trigger that you accidentally bought that's not legal in your state that you somehow still got shipped to you. Anything like that, if you end up using it, you can get in a lot of legal trouble because it's not a manufacturer OE part. So that's something, if you are going to have an EDC, I've talked to a lot of people at ranges about this because I was going to do it for my EDC when I everyday carry my SIG. He was like, I don't do anything with my EDCs because if I ended up having to use it and that trigger is the reason it malfunctioned, I can get in a lot of trouble because I put that trigger in. It was no one else. It was my fault.
Right.
This is also the importance of it. If it is your EDC, it is worth the money to take it to a licensed gunsmith and have it installed. Then you have paperwork to back it up that you had it done through a licensed gunsmith and it was done the proper way, not just I bought it off Amazon and put it in myself.
Yeah.
That's really where it comes to that good old CYA, cover your ass.
Yeah.
I have nothing against aftermarket triggers. I have one of my Taurus, same thing, because it is my EDC. It was installed through a local gunsmith here. I have nothing against aftermarket triggers. Glocks are very much reaching in a barrel. You can buy a Glock and it'll have a perfect trigger right out the box. You can have a terrible trigger right out the box.
Yeah.
If it is your EDC, you don't want a terrible trigger. You don't want something that's uncomfortable and has a long draw and is shaky. You want something that you feel confident pulling.
Right.
And I think that's a huge factor. That's also why I recommend taking it to a licensed gunsmith with a really good reputation, because then they can point you in the direction of a really good trigger for that specific firearm. They install it. It's now no liability to you. If that trigger malfunctions while if you have to use your EDC, you do take some liability, but really you now have the ability to pass that liability to the gunsmith that installed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
The
go ahead, Jeremy.
well, I don't know. This is kind of just like my personal opinion when it comes to a first handgun setup. Is most people just buy the gun and forget the accoutrements that, a weapon light is like bare bottom needed.
Yeah.
It is a little bit more expensive. If your pistol's 800, you're probably going to spend closer to $1,000, which is unfortunate for weapon lights being so expensive. But most bad things happen at night. People forget this. Sure, you could be mugged in the daytime and be fine, but we all have life past daytime. Like, we all do things at night, and some things. I see people showing EDCs all the time, and there's like no weapon light, and it's like a fucking Canic or like some 22p shooter. Like, still,
Yeah.
if your EDC, or if you are gonna use an EDC, you might want to get a weapon light. Like, for me, this is like the basic bar none setup. I got stock sights, stock trigger, stock magazines. I don't carry a long boy, like, with a light.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question here. How easy is it for you to turn on your light? What do you have to do?
Literally just flip down. So bam.
Right. So that's
Mine
also when
doesn't
it
work
comes
right now
into-
because I need to.
But so
I need
that's
to
also
focus.
when it comes into practicing. I agree. Lights are essential. You should most definitely have a light on your firearm. I don't have a light on my firearm. That's two reasons. One, I'm a cheap ass. Two, I'm being really picky because I don't have a lot of room there to put a light, and I don't want to put a cheap ass light that's going to rattle on me. And so for my specific firearm, I have a hard time finding a good quality light that isn't $300-400.
Streamlight,
That-
7.
Right,
They're
but I'm
about
just
100 bucks.
explaining my dilemma with it. Also, that's also the importance of having, like Jeremy and Sabian, lights that are easily activated, because when it comes down to pulling your firearm, you need to be able to turn that flashlight on easily and quickly, or it's not worth having the flashlight on there.
So, we're talking, Morgan had a, thank you for lurking again. But Morgan also said a good first handgun for women. Again,
Ooh, a specific brand. Well, I have experience getting a woman a gun.
yeah,
Tell my story.
yeah, go ahead.
I almost, you guys might laugh at this. I almost bought, or I almost convinced her to buy a Makarov. A freaking Makarov. Like, I was just joking. I was memeing around. I was saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you bought like this old Russian, direct blowback piece of shit, what is it, 7 something Tokarev, like not even 9 mil. Pretty freaking expensive round. She's like, I did see one of those in store, and I was like, no shit.
Yeah, like, really.
Right. No, I had just bought my Glock 17, and I knew my problems with it, and I didn't want my problems to be her problem, especially when she wants to conceal it. Her idea is that she wanted obviously an EDC that was concealable, but she didn't want it too small, because she talked to some people and they say, bigger better, which in this case, yeah, it is, if you know how to use it. We settled on Glock 19. I think that is the most milquetoast, good, right out of the box handgun. I mean, Nate's, what is it? Glock 43X?
43X.
Right. That's also a good one, but it doesn't come, if I remember the model correctly, it doesn't have a weapon light attachment.
What do you mean?
Doesn't have Picatinny rails.
Right.
It does have a lower Picatinny rail.
It does. Okay.
Yes.
Well, then I'm wrong. I'm thinking of some other.
The original 43 did not have a Picatinny rail.
Okay, so it was bald on the bottom.
Mm-hmm. The 43X comes with a Picatinny rail.
Gotcha. I'm not entirely sure at the time if they had it in stock, but I actually called around for her. I called around FFLs in her area to see if she had what Glock products that they had. They said they had a 17. They had Sabes. What is that?
This?
Yeah, what is that?
34, bro.
34.
34. Yeah.
You're not a Glock guy, so you don't know.
Oh. I thought I was. I thought I was a part of Glock gang, but then I realized it's kind of a milquetoast gun. It works.
I think you're more part of
work.
it than I am. I don't even own a fucking Glock yet, so
I'm not.
Whatever. As far as like my experience goes, I took her shooting. She liked the gun. It was small. I liked it. When I was holding it, I felt way better than holding this honky piece of shit.
He had her buy it for him.
What do you mean? For who?
For you. So
No.
You always have one to shoot when you see her again.
No. And she didn't even take it with her to Florida. I'm upset.
Anyways,
That's besides the point. Yeah. She liked it a lot. She also had like somewhat medium, small hands, and that, for most women, that's kind of like a good. I don't know. In my opinion, that should be the first gun that goes into a female's hands, and then they can figure out the rest. Like, what do you like about this? Yeah, Glock 19. Does it kick too much? Does it not feel good in the hand? You know, what do you not like the caliber? Like, it's 9mm. It's got a 3.5 for the 19. 3.5-inch barrel with a 17 round. No, 16
15.
capacity.
15.
Oh, 15 with one in the chamber.
16 with one in the chamber, or 15 with one in the chamber. Yeah, 16 total. But yeah, for a female though, it's gonna kind of depend. It's gonna depend on your size. It's gonna depend on. Same with males. Right. It depends on a lot of variables. Depends on your size. Depends on your hands. Depends on what you like to wear. All that type of stuff. You have your full sizes, like we've shown a lot of with the SIG, with the Glock, with his Glock. His Glock is a full size. Then you have compacts like Nate's. Nate's is a compact essentially.
No, mine's a subcompact.
Yours is a subcompact. So Nate's and I's are subcompacts. This one is pretty damn small for the grip. Like, as you can see, my pinky legitimately doesn't fit without the mag extension, which is, it still fits now. But even this, I can conceal this fully pretty easily without any printing at all, with the tight shirt, all that stuff. So you're going to have to take into account of all those variables of what you like to wear. If you're going to carry in a purse, if you're going to carry in a backpack, stuff like that.
It's one of those things that you're not going to really get it right on the first try, and if you do, power fucking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it is a lot about knowing the dimensions as well. I mean the Glock 19 is a great firearm option. However, from the 19 to the 43X, that's where you're really going to notice the difference in the classification of a compact to a subcompact. A Glock 19 is classified as a compact, but it has a 7-inch barrel or 7-inch total length. So the total length of the firearm is 7 inches. It's like 7.1. A Glock 43X total length is 5.04 inches. In terms of carrying a firearm, 2 inches is a lot, and can really affect your comfortability of carrying it. But I really do believe that's when it comes down to trying them on the range, seeing how comfortable they are. Unfortunately, you are, as far as it comes to the comfortability of carrying the firearm, you're not going to know until you buy it. Unless you have a friend that has a holster and has that exact gun, you're not going to know how it feels to carry it and have it inside your waist until you buy it and get a holster and try it that way. And that's the only downside.
It's also not so much of the barrel that's hard to conceal, because this is going straight down. Depending on how you carry, this is going straight down into your pants. This is going to be concealed up to here. What your main thing is going to be hard to conceal is your grip. So, as you can see, like I was talking about, this with a 15 round magazine in it is the same as the Glock, So this being a subcompact, I can still have that 15 round magazine capacity, and it's still the same size as the full size Glock with a 17 round capacity. And this one, I mean, then you'll get an extra inch of stubble that sticks out along with that. So that's
Right.
going to be the hardest part to conceal. Also, depending on where you're carrying at.
And especially when you get into these subcompacts and they only hold 10 or 12 rounds, and then you go, well, I want more rounds. I'm going to get an extended mag on it that holds 15 or 17 rounds. And so now, and my bad, on the 43X, I had misread the dimensions. It is 6.5 inches long, and it's the actual width. So from the top of the barrel to the bottom of the grip is 5.04 inches. But then, so you put an extended mag on that. So for the 43X, I can't think of the name of the company. They make a 17 round extended mag for those. That extended adds about 1.5 inches. So you've gone from 5 inches to 6.5 inches of length from that point, which affects the concealment of the firearm.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also holsters are going to play a huge role in how you conceal stuff. Like Nate was saying, you can have chest holsters, shoulder holsters that hang underneath your armpit, or whatever the fuck they're called. You're going to have your inside the waistband appendix, then you're going to have your outside the waistband, then you're going to have, I don't know. I mean, this is still inside the waistband, but I don't know, like, this one's not the same. It's kind of weird. This one tucks, it's at an angle, so it really, like,
It changes the profile.
yeah, because instead of being straight up and down and having the grip angled more, like outward, like
Right.
straight out, it angles everything down so it pushes more flat to your stomach. So it gets more surface space on your actual stomach itself while appendix carrying, which is actually pretty nice. The SIG with the holster that I have, this is inside the waistband again. Your wedges that go up, that press up against your belt, which drives the rear end of it, or the handguard towards your waist more. You can get different profiles: short, long, medium, all extra large, just so you can drive that further into you. This one I can conceal pretty well with the 17 round mag. The 21 round mag that I have, though, is pretty.
Oh boy.
Yeah, pretty
Chunker.
pretty hefty, extra, inch and a half.
That's
But-
a lot of inches.
Yeah, it's an inch and a half of it. But
Yeah, that.
um,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna say that on stream.
Pussy.
it is going to depend a lot on what holster you get. If you get a nice holster compared to a cheapo Walmart one, I spent $150 on this one, and honestly, I don't like it. Compared to if I would have bought just this one, I don't like how much I spent on this. It was supposed to be a sidecar profile, doesn't fit like a very good sidecar. Super bulky, comes out looks like I have a butterfly on my stomach. It's just so big. So I have to run it without the sidecar. So I have to run a spare mag.
Which, in my personal opinion, is how I like to carry. So I run without a sidecar, and then I carry mag pouches. So I carry, like I said, 7 o'clock position because I'm left-handed. So I carry back here, and then I carry 3 extra mags in my where you would appendix carry. So they're quick to access if I need to access them. They're right front in the middle. My firearm's located in the back. It's not hard for me to access at all.
If you can carry 3 mags on your stomach, why don't you just appendix carry?
'Cause I don't like carrying a firearm there. That's just super uncomfortable for me.
But you've seen all the videos of people getting firearms taken off them.
Right, but I'm concealed.
Yeah, they were too, and their shirt popped up.
Right, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's different. You're not the way that my firearm releases from the holster. You're not taking my firearm.
Do you have a level 2? Oh yeah,
Yeah, I have a level 2 retention,
yeah.
and then but it's a level 2 retention. But even if you get that part right, if you don't pull it at the right angle, it won't release. So So if you come up and try to yank it to the side, which is how most of these are happening, is they're running up and they're just yanking them. My firearm won't release like that.
It's kind of like an ALS system with Safari
Right.
Land. Yeah.
Right. I've been actually thinking about putting a what was it? Operational Industries. I have a holster for it. I'm thinking about purchasing a hood that goes over that, and you have to push a button for the hood to drop. Then you can release it.
Yeah, that's
But-
part of the
but-
level 3.
Right. I didn't think I would want that at first, and then I realized there's going to probably be a lot of up and down and jumping and rolling, and
Right.
that's how
And,
I
I
broke
mean,
some of my gear
not-
this week.
I mean, I guess kind of included in the PewPew Life, I also carry a knife on me that is inside my waistband as well. So if you access my firearm, I am going to close that distance rather quickly with a knife.
Right.
I think one thing to keep in mind is if you are going to carry a firearm with you, get some basic hand-to-hand training. That way you are able to keep your firearm.
Jeremy.
Yes, that's it. The
And
yeah. Yeah.
Also-
Eight-
little piece of knowledge here on why hand to hand is important. Let's say somebody tackles you to the ground and they're on top of you and you appendix carry and they are directly on top of you and you go like this. If you put pressure like this into somebody's stomach, because that's all the room that you have, and your barrel or your slide drops down, it won't fire.
Right, the firing pin will not engage.
Have to make distance for your firearm to operate. As soon as this goes down on contact, it no longer operates.
It is, yeah. That's now what is called out of battery.
Right.
And you can get away
That's
with
what I
that.
carry a knife for. If my firearm, if we are so close in contact that my firearm is out of battery, I have a knife to use.
One, also, you should, rule of thumb, never pull your firearm if someone's on top of you until you can create that distance, whether it's a leg, like Nate was saying, leg, space away. So, say you, again, hand-to-hand training, you shrimp out of it, and you can get your legs up on the person's hips and push them off you, and now you have 3-4 feet or 3 feet of distance away from each other, then draw. But you do not want to draw if they are on top of you, because
I don't wish that anybody has to be in that position.
Yeah.
Because that is not only is that a scary position to be in, but it will be a gross position to be in if you have to pull your trigger at that point.
yeah,
It will be a gross position to be in once you pull that trigger. I do not wish that anybody has to be in that position. But we've seen videos of that happening, people being tackled and not being able to reach their firearm or access to it, or pulling it and it not working because it's out of battery. And it's something that you do just have to be aware of. It's situational awareness 101. You need to be able to fight the fight on all aspects, not just one. Firearms are great, but a firearm is not great when you can't use it.
yeah. Or if someone uses yours against you.
Right.
Yeah, and along with like good holsters, all that, you also gotta, again, kind of plan, like we were saying with wardrobe and stuff like that. In the wintertime, you're gonna be wearing baggier clothing, so you can get away with wearing those bigger, full size guns, whether you're female, male, whatever. Summertime tend to have less layers on, so you might want to run a compact. Or if you're in a densely populated area, you tend to want to run something more concealable so people don't know you have it at all. Like, I went to the zoo, didn't know if you could carry in the zoo, but
I don't think you are allowed to.
either way, I carried and I made sure no one could see it. I carried my subcompact, the smallest I could get it, and just went and did my, went about. And
It is important. The Tacoma Mall is a private company. They don't allow firearms. If you talk to one of the security guards, I have personally been told to leave the Tacoma Mall because my firearm became visible. which is fine. That's their rule. I knew that that was their rule when I went in. My shirt came up, they saw the firearm, they asked me to leave. That is not the time to cause a problem. It's plain as day. That's their rule. Whether you just leave or they call the police and they have you trespassed, you're leaving one way or another.
Right. You're
But
not going out shooting.
that's the importance of concealment. If you actually talk to, like, I took the time to talk to a security guard there when he was telling me about this, and they really don't care as long as it's concealed. If they can't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind to them. Most of the time, if you're following the correct rules, if you have a CPL in Washington State, you are not their concern. You are not their problem. If they see your firearm, they have to ask you to leave because they have to ask everybody to leave if they see a firearm. But if you're doing it the right way and you're doing it legally, you are not their problem. You just have to follow their rules. And I think the biggest misconception is people go, well, the law says that I can carry a firearm. And that's fine, but they're still private business. And if they want you to leave, you have to leave.
Right.
Which, unfortunately,
It's
we kind of gotta. I do agree with being respectful and stuff, but we do have to. That's the whole point of what we're doing is, we do want to get to that point of where that's not a thing. You know,
civil disobedience.
we should be able to go into any store. I have my CPL, which means I can carry anywhere besides a federal building in Washington State, regardless of whatever that private company says so. Or, whatever. I should be able to go to the concert I want to go to and have a CPL because it's in Seattle. Not get searched at the door and be like, oh, you have a firearm. I have my CPL. I can't carry in XYZ areas. This is not one of them. I can go in there. Unfortunately,
And if you have a CPL, the only places you're not allowed to carry by law is federal buildings, schools, and bars.
and stadiums,
And stadium.
open outside stadiums, and surprisingly enough, rodeos.
Yeah, rodeos is a pretty big one.
Well, rodeos make sense. There's a lot of drinking involved at rodeos.
Yeah.
So
But they're not a bar.
right. But regardless, alcohol and firearms never mix.
Yeah.
Fair.
If you have friends that do that stuff, or there's going to be different communities in the firearm industries. There's going to be people like us, and even far more than us, where they train every single day. That's their life. That's what they do for a business. They train every single day in case of civil unrest. Then there's going to be people who have firearms just for fun because they can, and they're retarded about it. And I'm going to use that word because of the fact of what they do, of putting so many people at risk by drinking and using firearms. It's the same as drinking and driving. It is a tool. A vehicle is a tool. A firearm is a tool. And now you're operating it under the influence they are both objects that can harm people and marginally harm people yearly. I mean, you have more vehicular deaths by DUIs than you do firearms. But that being said, you shouldn't operate either one of them with alcohol, substances in your system at all.
Right.
And I don't know about Jeremy, but me, Sabi, and Connor have all been out at
Tahuya.
we weren't at a range. We were in a legal area to go shooting at in the woods. And there was a group of guys that showed up and were drinking and using their firearms. And we called it a wrap. We packed up and we were towards the end of our shooting day anyway, so it wasn't a huge deal. But that's what really should be avoided here. There is no time that alcohol and firearms mix. That's when people shoot themselves in the hand, in the foot. They shoot somebody else. They put a hole in their car. That's when those kind of things happen.
It's one of those things where
Right. It's less about you getting angry and doing something, and more about as soon as you start consuming alcohol, your motor skills start to decline. Your judgment starts to decline. You make one stupid decision purely based on the fact that you've been consuming alcohol, and now you have damaged your own property, somebody else's property, or worse, injured or killed somebody.
Right. It only takes one moment. And something
Nobody in the community fucking likes you.
Facts.
yes. I don't know. At the same time, you guys should have called them out like, "Hey, You guys are stupid for drinking and shooting. We're leaving.
Oh, there was already people doing that.
Right.
Oh,
But
just
then
you,
also the way that I view it is that we don't need a shootout in the woods because they've been drinking and using guns.
Yeah, because you can tell a demeanor of someone most of the time, and they have the demeanor of I'm an idiot who thinks I'm all that.
Right. It wouldn't have been as simple as, hey, as long as we're out here, do you mind not drinking and shooting because we think it's super unsafe and not worth it and not something that we support? Because if we would have said it just like that, it would have turned into a big fucking ordeal.
Well, we can do whatever the fuck we want, you know.
Right.
Screw a
Right.
You know, we're out in public.
So, that's really, again, situational awareness. At that time, it was best for us to just kind of keep our mouths shut. Like I said, we were at the end of our day anyways. We maybe had 100 rounds left, and just decided to pack up and call it a day. And really, that's all you can do.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or you can splinter cell it, wait for them to turn around, put their gun down,
Right.
choke them out. All
Or
four.
just take the gun away.
Yeah, then you're getting legal stealing firearms from someone.
And
It's just
Problem with it
Who
is that
endangered who first?
you struggle because the correct thing to do in that instance would be to call the police and report it because it's a crime that is a crime that we are not comfortable confronting. But then also at the same time, something that we have to remember as members of the gun community is anytime a call like that happens or anything, we run the chance of losing the right to use this land to go shooting.
Yeah.
That's why it's also important to pick up your fucking trash at public ranges. Clean up after yourself, you fucking bums. God.
I'm a culprit of that.
Well,
I
then
didn't
you're a
think it was-
fucking bum too.
God damn it, Jeremy.
It's all your
Well, I
fucking
said I'm a
fault.
culprit of it.
Shame.
Obviously,
Shame.
no.
Stone.
Somebody get a fucking bell.
I have not been picking up my brass as much as I should, or cleaning up my trash. I'd usually leave not shredded targets, but I'd leave a target that was somewhat usable again.
That's different. Anything
Right, but that's
biodegradable.
different.
Anything biodegradable is fine. But like shotgun shells, pick up your shotgun shells.
Yeah.
Right, shotgun
Right.
shells. But I mean, like, even if I'm not even mad about like brass. You shoot, you don't care about your brass. Leave it. We collect the brass because we know we are capable of repacking the rounds. So that's fine. Leave your brass. But yeah, we're not going to repack a shotgun shell. Pick that shit up, throw it away. If you have absolutely obliterated a target to where it can't be used again, take the target down, throw it away. Pretty much any garbage that you've brought in needs to leave with you.
Yeah.
Because really, we're across the country, we're losing all of these public shooting spaces, and it's because people aren't cleaning up after themselves. They're not maintaining the properties, and they're doing stupid shit. And it just needs to stop. Is really where it's at. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
Our TED Talk.
Yeah. Along with concealed carrying and carrying in general, if you're going on hikes and stuff, because that was a main like topic that got brought up to my attention and stuff like that. If you're hiking, I would bring a handgun as a secondary, not my primary. I wouldn't use that specifically. If you're going alone, 100%, I would get a rifle. They have... So, my CPL in Washington, if you live in Washington, this is a pistol. It's considered a pistol under the law. His is considered a pistol. It still shoots. Hold on. Yep, no ammo in it. This still shoots 300 blackout. This is a rifle round. This also folds into a backpack. Ready to go. That's pretty compact.
I need to get me one of those.
Right? Law Tactical folders or Sylvania Arms. Get one of these. Put it in your backpack. They have multiple options of rifle round, backpack ready firearms. Ruger has some. Henry has some stuff like that. But get something that's going to punch a very fast hole through a bear, a cougar, anything that's in your area that can, you know, harm the shit out of you and maul the fuck out of you.
Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my!
Exactly. You can either you can either carry this in your backpack and it's still okay to do with your concealed carry license, or you can get a good sling it over your back, still have a round racked in it, and just keep going. But I would highly suggest a rifle over any pistol caliber.
On a hike, definitely.
Yeah.
Something that carries a little bit more than just 15 or 17, because that goes quick, and if you miss a lot, that would suck. It's probably best to bring a pistol with 30-round mag and hope whatever is bothering you stays away. Because I actually just saw a video recently. I don't know how the person did it. They had a video, or they had their phone in one hand recording a video of a bobcat that was coming up to them and a handgun in the other, and he was videotaping himself being stalked by this bobcat, and eventually it made a move and he shot at the bobcat, but it missed. It was like...
This happened in
He
Washington State, by the way.
Oh,
He
you saw
shot
the
a
video?
bunch of times.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened in the Pacific Northwest. I follow Joe Rogan on Instagram, and he actually ended up reposting it. But yeah, it happened in the Pacific Northwest, up in the Olympic National Forest.
Right.
Where we're going
Wild.
camping?
Where we go shooting,
We don't go
and
shooting.
where we. Yeah, that's the Olympic, isn't it?
No, the Olympic is two.
Yeah, we go
It's
to
2 hours
Tahuya.
away.
Oh, what the fuck?
The Olympics is 2 hours away, buddy. But that's where our camping trip is planned. So
Bring our rifles.
Right, we'll be strapped.
It's alright, I'll bring the 308.
The only cougars will be up there.
No, stop. Stop.
stop.
It's gonna be Connor's mom.
Damn, you're still on this Connor's mom thing.
Damn.
Dude, Connor's mom is hot.
Alright, calm down, young gravy.
I will do Connor. That is my promise to Operation Impart.
That is
The
a
beef
shitty
will be-
promise.
Are you
That
willing
is
to
not
pay
a
child support?
Yeah, I'll pay you to shut your mouth and to let it happen.
Morgan
Fuck this.
said.
Thanks, Dad.
Morgan said my dad thinks Connor's mom is hot too.
Hey, there we go.
Alright, Colonel Sanders, calm the fuck down.
Awkward.
Dude,
It's not awkward. You
We
just
get-
don't
How
know how
awkward? How awkward would that be
It
if
wouldn't be.
Connor's
come out of the
mom became one of Sabian's mother-in-laws?
What's up, step sis?
what's up, step bro?
What?
What's up, step bro?
Oh no.
Oh god.
Looks like I got it stuck in a Glock today.
Oh, that sounds painful.
I mean, it could be the mag.
I mean,
you
I
never
could
know.
probably just fit in a fucking 22.
Morgan would not be enthused if that happened, I guess.
Yeah, she said I'd kill myself.
Do it!
Oof. Yeah, I'm gonna bang Connor's.
Okay, Jesus.
It's gonna be great. Like everybody.
And I think on that, today is a wrap.
Might as well stick your dick in a sandblaster.
Oh my god.
Just it starts up, doing it for the meme, doing it for the
Just
the
take your dick.
fans.
Take your dick to a fucking 80 grit sander.
Oh yeah, just it's like a piece of sandpaper that's wrapped around a drill. You just turn the drill and it's just constantly oscillating.
Alright, I think we're getting too far into this.
Yeah, on
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
on that
And
note-
on that note, we are going to conclude it. Thank you for tuning in for episode 6 of Operation Impart. We hope we answered some of your guys' questions here. If you have any more questions, feel free to send us a DM or join the Discord. We're more than willing to help you out there. And let's keep on continuing to grow this community. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
See
Thanks
ya.
for joining.